Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining today. My name is Nikolina. I'm a CEO and co-founder of Rainbow Unicorn Games, and I'm also a coach and lots of other things as you will learn today. And I will be talking a bit about my journey in the gaming industry, about my career. So this talk is called, it's a mouthful, it's called Empowering Aspirations, Dare to Be Yourself, and Importance of Networks. So first, a little bit about what do I do? So in my career, I worked on over 20 games. I think the number is probably closer to 30. I'm not sure what's the exact number to tell you the. As I said, I'm a co-founder of Rainbow Unicorn Games, which is based in Boston, in the United States. I also have my own consultancy company in Croatia. I'm writing my first book about the gaming industry. Don't get excited. It's not tell it all. It's something rather, well, I find it interesting, but it might be boring for some. I'm writing a book about best mobile games QA practices. So it should be live in about 2 months. I also work for the pan-European project called Europe in Sync, where we have lots of partners from different EU countries trying to bring entertainment industries working closer together. And I also work as a consultant on mostly product management for the mobile game Doctor. And I'm probably forgetting something, but doing lots of stuff. So yeah, keeping quite busy. But how did I get here? How did this journey in the gaming industry started, and how did I get to the point uh, where am I today? So we have to go quite back in time and space, and go back to early 80s when I was a little girl, and I was living in a country which was then called Yugoslavia. Today's Croatia. So it was in Eastern Europe, and I was fascinated with technology. I don't know why. I think it's coming from my mother who worked with machinery all her life. And yeah, when I would get a doll to play with, I was more interested in mechanics of how it's, opens and close the eyes and actually playing with the doll. And I was lucky enough that in my extended family, there was an electronics engineer who was really supportive of my interests, who would answer lots of my questions and kind of slowly introduce me to the world of electronics and computers. And I just fell in love in the idea of the computer. I really wanted to have one. Now, computers were not that, as far as I know, computers were not that easy to obtain anywhere those days. They were not like so common as they are these days. But in communism, it was impossible. You just couldn't buy them. But I really, really wanted one. And then I started a campaign with my parents and trying to get them to get me one. I was very, very convincing, and somehow they managed to organize something, and that computer was smuggled into the country, and that was ZX Spectrum, and I just loved it. I started to play games for the first time, and it was just amazing. The whole world opened up for me. But of course, in those stages, I never thought that this could lead to a career in games. That was something that opened the passion for it, but it always just stayed as a hobby because I in that stage I didn't even know who makes the games, but I know that it was nobody whom I knew. It was nobody who was in my circle, so nobody whom I could even imagine. And I knew whoever makes them, it's probably nobody like me. So my career took me different ways. I went to work for government. I worked for British government for some time. I moved abroad. I worked in tourism for some time, and then in early 2000s, I moved to Finland, and I learned that gaming industry does exist, and yes, it's in Finland. And I started to apply for jobs. I can tell you that I had no experience in games. I don't. Well, I had skills, but were they transferable to the games? I don't know, but they didn't stop me. I just kept applying, and yeah, I think in some stage they kind of stopped sending me even no letters because they just didn't want to encourage me anymore. But I kept building my career in IT, with serious software, as they call it, and then kind of stars aligned after some time. and I got my first chance in the gaming industry with Rovio. It was early, I think it was early 2012, late 2011 when I started to work there. And kind of lots of things came together in that time. Rovio was then experiencing fast growth. I was an experienced leader, and things um, kind of matched up. There was lots of things that helped me to get that first job. Like some of the things that definitely helped was that Rovio, as I was growing, and they were looking for somebody who had experience with building teams, leading teams, and I definitely had that experience from my previous roles. They were also looking for somebody who was familiar with the mobile technology. I worked with Nokia, I worked with mobile technologies, so it was something I felt very comfortable with. We have to think that, the mobile gaming developed pretty fast. At about 10, 11 years ago, it was still at its beginnings. So it was not that common to find people actually have experience working with the mobile games. I also had a professional recognition in QA in my discipline. So the first job I had was a QA manager. I was working as a QA manager in Nokia. I worked with very big systems. I was nominated to be Tester of the Year by Finnish Testing Association, I think in 2010, 2011, and I was shortlisted. I was in the top 10. I had the ISTQB certification. I had the great references. So it definitely helped because, I came across as a QA professional who has lots of skills that are very transferable. And last but definitely not least, I was passionate gamer all my life, and I was asked about it. So one thing I want to say about this is that do I think that you have to be a gamer to work in the gaming industry? Hmm, especially not for some roles. For some roles, yes, it will be difficult to do them without being a gamer. But for many roles, no. But when you're in a situation when you are applying for the jobs, and especially if you are pivoting from different industry to games, being a passionate gamer or being familiar with the games of the studio that you're applying for, it's really kind of gives you this uh, a bit of advantage over the other candidates, which might have very similar qualifications. And I think that was also one of the things that proved that I'm really passionate about joining the industry, that I didn't mind taking a bit of the step back in the career, taking a bit of the salary cut as well, just for the sake to kind of, live my passion, join the industry I was really passionate about. And I stayed in Rovio for quite a few years. I grew from being a QA manager to being a producer to being a head of production. After that, I moved to work in the next games to lead the live ops. And after that, I decided to become an entrepreneur. So, if you look at my career, if you check on LinkedIn or see the things I did, it might look like really great. It might look like this hockey stick up. Oh, looks great. It looks amazing. She went step by step forward. Um, but it looked more like that reality graph. It went a little bit up and down and left and right, and sometimes went a bit backwards. And I think that, especially if you come from underrepresented groups, we put lots of pressure on us to have perfect career, that we do everything perfect, that we don't make mistakes and that we always move forward. But that's a bit of an unfair pressure. And I think that at the end of the day, rather than striving to have a perfect career, whatever that is, we should strive to learn and become better professional, better people. And we learn a lot by failing or getting, side steps. If you look at the babies, when they crawl, and they fall down first before they should learn how to walk. But somehow as adults, we don't give ourselves the grace to learn by failing. We are very, very harsh on ourselves. And I think it's really important to kind of give ourselves some grace and space to explore different things in our career and to make these side steps and sometimes make mistakes, learn from them, and take these learnings into a new experience. And I think that that has been very rewarding for me. And I think another thing that it's really important that, when you start your career, you have some career goals. You see your career going to a certain direction. But I think it's important to take these checkpoints, and stop and reconsider because we change. Our preferences change. Our desires change, our goals change, and also the longer you work in some place on an industry or expand the network of people you are working with or that you know, you will learn about more opportunities, about different things, and you might sort of think, huh, this might be something that it's really interesting for me. Might be something that sounds more appealing than the target I set up for myself a few years ago. And I think that these are the ways that we become actually more. Not only better professionals, become better people, and we really kind of figure out we have better careers, more fulfilling careers, because we really figure out what works for us. So yeah, so if you wonder about how did my career go, it went like this, but it took me to the same space, because I have to say that today I'm really happy with the space where I'm in, and I'm very proud with the things that I achieved. Um, which brings me to the next thing. One of the I spoke before about the companies I worked for, the games I worked on, um, but there's other aspect of my career which is for me equally, if not even more important than the one we spoke about before. And this is my contribution and work as a mentor on working with the different networks. I have been part of LGIN mentoring network for a couple of years. I have been Women in Games ambassador since 2018. I have been working with European Innovation Council as mentor and coach for underrepresented founders. And this is industry agnostic, so it's not for the gaming industry per se, but like for the any industry. And as I said, I'm a co-founder and a CEO of the Rainbow Unicorn Games, which is a bit different studio. It's founded on the values of diversity, equity, and inclusion and transparency. And as such, it's actually incorporated as a B corporation. So in the United States, the law works a bit differently, the company law. So that actually means that our values are more important than the profit. So they're above the profit, which give us really opportunity to put our foot where our mouth is and really organize the company the way we think that should be run. I'm also working as a coach. I'm coaching entrepreneurship, leadership, and operational diversity, equity, and inclusion. And also work with Educamation, which is a Finnish company. It's a platform for the gaming education. They actually, the goal is to bring Finnish gaming education to the rest of the world. They also have work with Metropolitan Finland, but with lots of other universities outside of Finland as well. And this is why my way of kind of giving back to the industry that helped me, that I love, that I work in, and you know, um, to kind of help out the people that might not have the access to the same information that I have, or to the same opportunities that I have. Because when I was a little girl, if I would have access to the information I have now, my career might have looked differently, or I might start to work in an industry earlier, and I feel it feels very empowering and it feels very rewarding when you can open the doors for somebody or help them walk through the doors that were maybe closed for you before. Which brings me to the next slide as well. That you know, especially when you come from underrepresented groups in the gaming industry, and that when you start to work and you join a very homogeneous group of people, and you are the only one who is different, one who kind of sticks out. It's very, first, because of course you want to fit in, you want to feel like a part of the group. And our first instinct might be to kind of like become more like that group, to adopt their way of thinking and their values, and maybe even silence our own creativity or our own output. And this definitely can work, and it can work for some time, but in long term, it makes you frustrated. It doesn't kind of bring you to the happy place. It doesn't bring any psychological safety, but it also doesn't really contribute to the success of the company, because it has been proven over and over that the most successful companies are the ones that are most diverse. And by being most diverse doesn't mean that just like tick the box that they're all there. We have these people from different backgrounds. It's actually people from different backgrounds who have the platform, who participate in a creative process, in a decision. Voices are really heard. And bringing our own unique voices and creative experiences makes products better and makes companies work better. But it might not be the easiest thing to do. Um, I think the first step to do this is to actually know yourself. And I mean, not only by what's your skill set, what you know, what you need to learn, or what you would like to learn, but it's also about what are your values. How do you like to work? How do you like to interact with other people? Where are your boundaries? Where are your work boundaries? What's negotiable for you, but what's non-negotiable? And when you have your own set of values and you understand yourself better, then it's much easier to find the groups of people who would have similar values and will relate to you and they can help you out and elevate you and support you in your career journey. And these groups can be at your place of work. It can be an informal group, just group of people who work together and they have similar interests, but it could be a more formal group, for example, employee interest groups, or even hobby groups, things like that. And of course, they could be outside of work. They could be also more formal networks, women in games, IGDA, uh, special interest groups in the IGDA, or it can be also something like, for example, more informal groups. I know that I don't know if it's still running, but when I lived in Helsinki, there was indie dev group that used to meet for unofficial drinks once per month. It wasn't official group; it was unofficial, but it was definitely a definite group. And if you were indie dev, you could share your woes and your challenges and your wins with the group. So, but when you know yourself, when you know well, what you're trying to achieve, where do you want to go, it's much easier as well to find a group of people who will support you in the journey and who can help you out and help you elevate your voice. um, I think that when you talk about mentoring and we talk about building networks, that very often they're taken for granted, or they're taken as something like it's not that important, or it's something that's good to have, but it wouldn't make or break my career. And I would kind of um, argue maybe differently. Um, First of all, I think the representation matters. You can't be what you can't see, as they say. And as I said, like, when I was a young girl falling in love with games as a kid, I could never even dream about having the career that I have now because there was just nobody to see, who was like me. But being part of the networks of mentorship program, and you see somebody who is similar to you having a job that you would like to have one day, or being in a position that you would like to have, or work in a company that you would like to have, it gives you inspiration. It gives you this boost that you see, it's possible, everything is possible. And then you can start mapping your path, how to get there, or talk to that person and kind of get their experience and learn, okay, these are some things that might work for me as well to relate. And being part of the networks where you feel that you have the common values and interests, where you belong, definitely helps with that. Another thing that it's not often talked about in our industry, but I think it should definitely be mentioned, it's gatekeeping. Now, lots of gatekeeping in games comes from the point that we actually work with proprietary technology and proprietary IPs, and there is some need for secrecy. I have to say, in Finland, that's not that strong. That in Finland, actually, studios still quite collaborate, industry quite collaborate among themselves. But if you go outside of Finland, it's actually pretty rare. Um, but there's also lots of gatekeeping, which is just legacy and makes no sense anymore. And sometimes people do the gatekeeping; they don't even understand that they are gatekeeping. It's um, but we do. And it's a big problem. And there's lots of things that are very mysterious or hard to find out. There's lots of things about our industry that you can't find out by Googling, but you actually have to know somebody who will know somebody to open these doors for you. And being part of the networks and groups actually help you with that. I remember when I was starting as entrepreneur in Finland, it's not only that I was a female founder in a male dominated industry, I was also an immigrant who spoke Finnish really poorly. I was not Finnish like and entrepreneurship scene. I wasn't familiar with the Finnish financial scene. My parents were entrepreneurs, but they were entrepreneurs in different lots of things not really transferable, and it was really tough. It was I always felt that there was something I was supposed to know that I don't know. And I will always be very grateful to a couple of people in my network who were all the entrepreneurs who opened some doors for me, who demystify certain processes and things for me, and who helped me out overcome some hurdles, because it took me long enough, but with their help, these hurdles kind of seemed easier, or, I didn't wander for that long. So we all encounter some kind of gatekeeping, or said, like, you know, bit of mystified things in our career, and being part of supportive network helps us resolve this, or help open these gates for us. Also, very often when people kind of are interested in mentoring or supporting, they think it's going to take a lots of time. And it can take lots of time. It's about you deciding how much time you want to commit to that. But very often it's small things that can make lots of difference, that it's about sharing information, championing for somebody. If you hear that somebody, we all know that our industry, lots of jobs comes, that are not really even published anywhere, that come through the networks. Championing for somebody, it's like, oh, actually, I know the person who might be a good fit. Is it okay if I give your email address? They contact you. Sharing a post on LinkedIn or social media, just pointing out the person to the right place. It's like you can find reliable, valuable information. This spot can make a world of difference for another person, but it might take only a minute of your time, and it's not going to take a long, because we have to kind of stop and think that we all come from different point of view. But it's easy for me, it might be very difficult for somebody else, and that we need to understand that not everybody has the same path, and not everybody has the same starting point. And if we can help somebody else progress and get closer to their goal, if it just takes a minute of our time, why wouldn't we do this? At the end of the day, feeling of belonging and acceptance is a key to psychological safety, and being psychologically safe allows us to really perform at our work, to really become uh, great, and to grow to our potential. And that makes this is not great only for us, but it's great for the company that we are working in. And being a member of supportive networks of people who are similar to you, it can also help you with your self-esteem. It makes you feel validated and accepted. It might give you this boost of confidence that you need to ask for that promotion, ask for that salary raise, ask to be put on the project that you're really, interested in, ask for extra responsibility, ask for bonus, whatever. It might just make the difference to make your job a bit better. It might give you a boost to push you a little bit further in your career path. At the end of the day, wrap it up. I want to say that, of course, I'm very proud of the games I worked on, but at the end of the day, it's also I'm very proud of the how I did things. And I think that our legacy doesn't contain only uh, what we did, but how we did it. And that's possibly something that people are going to remember us the most, how we made them feel, and kind of what footprint we left in the industry. And that we should maybe how things are done, not only what is done. So, yeah, this is it. So thank you very much for staying with me through the presentation. I hope that you could learn something from our career path. Feel free to add me on LinkedIn if you have any questions afterwards, or want to connect, or anything. Feel free to send me an email. And yeah, thank you so much for um, uh, being with me through this presentation.